In a world where loud gestures often steal the spotlight, grand dates, expensive gifts, and passionate declarations, the quiet, consistent signals of emotional attachment are often the ones that speak the loudest. These subtle signs may not scream "I love you" from the rooftops, but they whisper something far more meaningful. You matter to me in ways I can't always put into words. And for many men, especially those who aren't naturally expressive or emotionally fluent, these quiet cues are their love language. Love, for some men, isn't always about poetry or daily affirmations. It's in the soft glance during a hard conversation, the hand that reaches out when you're quiet, or the way they open up about things they've buried for years. It's in the stories they've never told anyone, the fears they quietly admit, and the way they begin to imagine a future with you in it. These are not random actions. They are choices, intentional, meaningful, and rooted in something real. Often, society teaches men to stay strong, hide their emotions, and deal with struggles in silence. Vulnerability is seen as weakness, and asking for emotional closeness is sometimes masked with sarcasm or distance. But when a man begins to let those layers fall in front of you, when he shows you the sides he rarely reveals, it's not just affection. It's trust. It's connection. It's the quiet beginning of something lasting. These moments might not always be easy to recognize. They are not always wrapped in romance or tied with ribbons of charm. Sometimes, they come quietly, in the middle of a conversation, during a long drive, or in a simple glance that holds more meaning than words ever could. But if you pay attention, you'll notice a pattern, a rhythm, a softness beneath the surface. That's why understanding these 15 subtle signs matters, because they reveal the truth most clearly, not when he's performing, but when he's simply being. These signs are his way of letting you in, not with grand gestures, but with honesty, trust, and a heart that slowly, carefully, is choosing you. If you've ever wondered whether he truly cares, look beyond what he says. Watch what he shows you when no one else is watching. These are the moments that tell you everything. These are the signs you're the only one he truly opens up to. 1. He shares childhood memories he rarely talks about. When a man shares childhood memories he rarely talks about, it's a deeply personal act, and one of the most overlooked signs of emotional attachment. These moments are not just stories. They are fragments of his foundation, pieces of who he was before the world told him who he should be. Opening up about childhood often brings with it vulnerability, nostalgia, and sometimes pain. If he begins telling you about the street he grew up on, the games he played as a child, or the way his parents treated him, especially if he mentions things he doesn't usually tell others, it means he feels emotionally safe around you. For many men, childhood is a private archive. Some memories are filled with joy, others with silent scars. When he lets you peek into that archive, he's trusting you not just with his past, but with the unspoken parts of his emotional world. He's showing you the things that shaped his personality, his fears, his humor, and his defenses. And most importantly, he's not performing. He's not trying to impress. He's simply opening a door, quietly, hoping you'll sit with him in that space. This kind of sharing usually doesn't happen early on. It surfaces slowly, often during moments of stillness or unexpected connection. You might notice his tones soften, his eyes shift, or his voice lower when he tells these stories. That's the moment he's letting you in, not just into his memory, but into his trust. And if he shares these memories with only you, it's not accidental. It's his way of saying, "You matter enough to know who I really am, not just who I appear to be." 2. He tells you about his fears and insecurities. When a man tells you about his fears and insecurities, he's doing something he likely doesn't do with many, if anyone at all. Society often conditions men to appear strong, in control, and unshaken. So when he opens up and shows you the parts of himself that feel uncertain, weak, or not enough, it means he trusts you with the rawest parts of his humanity. These aren't just casual confessions. They are quiet admissions of the thoughts that keep him up at night. Fears of failure, not being good enough, being misunderstood, or losing something or someone he deeply values. He might talk about his fear of disappointing his family, of not living up to his own standards, or of not being loved back in the way he hopes to be. These conversations reveal layers beneath the surface, the tender parts hidden behind smiles and strength. When a man shares these thoughts with you, he's not asking you to fix him. He's inviting you into his inner world. He's showing you the man behind the confidence, the silence, or the charm. He's saying, I feel safe enough with you to let my guard down. It's also a sign that is emotionally invested, because people don't open up to those they see as temporary. Vulnerability is a form of emotional intimacy, and sharing insecurities is an act of courage. It means he values your opinion, and even more, he trusts your presence. He believes you won't use his honesty against him, and that your care won't change once you've seen the parts of him that aren't polished. So if he speaks to you about what scares him or makes him feel small, listen closely. It's one of the quietest, but strongest, signs of connection. 3. He lets you see him cry or get emotional. When a man lets you see him cry or get emotional, it's not weakness, it's a rare act of courage and intimacy. Many men are taught from a young age to suppress emotion, to remain composed, stoic, and tough no matter what. Crying, especially in front of someone else, is often seen as a loss of control, which is why, when he does break down or express strong emotion in your presence, it's deeply meaningful. Tears don't come from nowhere. They come from something that truly matters to him. Grief, frustration, overwhelming joy, regret, or sometimes the sheer relief of feeling safe. When he allows those emotions to surface in front of you, he's not just reacting to a situation. He's showing you his unfiltered self. It means he no longer feels the need to hide behind masks or pretend to be okay when he's not. Most importantly, he's trusting that you won't judge him, walk away, or think less of him. That kind of trust is sacred. It means you've become more than just someone he talks to. You've become a safe space for his heart to land. He may not always have words to explain what he's feeling, but in those quiet, tearful moments, he's saying something even deeper. You matter enough to see me like this. It's not a test. It's a silent confession of emotional closeness. And once a man reaches that point with you, it's a sign that the bond you share isn't surface level. It's real, raw, and rare. So when he lets the tears fall, even if just once, know this, you've reached a place in his life that very few ever will. 4. He talks about his goals and long-term dreams. When a man talks to you about his goals and long-term dreams, it's more than just casual conversation. It's a window into his future and an unspoken invitation to be part of it. Goals and dreams are deeply personal. They reflect his values, his vision, and his inner fire. So when he shares them with you, especially the ones he hasn't told many people, it shows he respects your presence and trusts your support. These dreams might involve career ambitions, places he wants to travel, the kind of life he wants to build, or the legacy he hopes to leave behind. They are not always neatly packaged or fully formed. Sometimes they come out in scattered thoughts or one-day wishes. But the fact that he shares them with you means he feels emotionally safe and seen. He's saying, without directly saying it, this is where I'm headed, and I want you to know. Men don't open up this way with just anyone. Many will keep their plans guarded, especially if they are afraid of failure or haven't yet achieved what they want. But when he talks about them with you, not to boast, but to connect, it shows you hold a place close to his heart. Sometimes, you'll notice your name gently woven into those future scenarios. If I ever move, I wonder what you'd think of that city, or I'd love to raise kids that way someday. These subtle inclusions aren't just sweet, they're intentional. He's mentally placing you in his future, even if he hasn't fully admitted it aloud. When a man includes you in his dreams, he's not just fantasizing, he's bonding. He's giving you a piece of his tomorrow, hoping you'll be part of it. 5. He admits past mistakes without trying to impress you. When a man admits his past mistakes without trying to impress you, it's one of the most authentic forms of emotional honesty. He's not curating a version of himself that's flawless or heroic. Instead, he's laying down his ego, showing you the parts of his story that carry shame, regret, or lessons learned, and is doing it without dressing them up to look better than they are. This kind of openness is rare. especially in a world where many feel pressured to present only their best sides. When he talks about the relationships he mishandled, the choices he regrets, or the times he hurt others or even himself, it means he values truth over performance. He's not trying to win you with charm. He's showing you that he's real, that he's grown, and that he's still learning. These conversations often feel quiet, humble, and deeply human. He might pause before sharing. He might even hesitate. But once the words come out, you'll notice the sincerity, not in how polished his story is, but in how unguarded it feels. He isn't just admitting faults to prove anything. He's inviting you to see him fully, flaws and all. What makes this so significant is that he's giving you the power to know his imperfections and still hoping you'll accept him. That's a risk. That's vulnerability. And it shows a deep level of trust and emotional connection. So when he talks about who he used to be and doesn't try to shine it up, listen closely. That honesty is his way of saying, I want you to know the real me, because you matter enough to see the whole picture. 6. He opens up about family issues or struggles. When a man opens up about family issues or struggles, he's revealing a deeply private layer of his life, one that many people guard closely. Family dynamics are often tangled with emotion, love, guilt, disappointment, trauma, or longing. Talking about them requires trust, especially for someone who has spent years hiding those wounds behind smiles or silence. If he begins to share details about a difficult relationship with a parent, a sibling rivalry, financial pressures at home, or emotional scars from childhood, it means he no longer sees you as an outsider. He's letting you into the world that shaped him, not just the version of himself that exists today, but the journey that led him here. These conversations aren't always easy for him to start. There might be pauses, hesitations, or vague mentions at first. But once he feels safe, he'll slowly reveal more, sometimes without even realizing how much he's saying. You'll notice the emotion in his voice, the shift in his energy, and the subtle relief of finally being able to talk about things he usually keeps buried. What makes this especially significant is that he's not just sharing facts. He's sharing pain, resilience, and personal history. He's trusting you to hold that truth with care, without judgment. And by doing so, he's showing emotional depth and maturity, the kind that says, I want to be seen fully, not just conveniently. When he talks about his family's struggles, he's offering you context, not excuses, and an invitation to understand the foundation of who he is. It's a powerful form of connection, because in those moments, he's saying, you matter enough to know where I come from, even the parts one don't usually talk about. 7. He tells you about people who've hurt him. When a man tells you about people who've hurt him, he's sharing something he likely keeps tucked away, the wounds that still ache beneath his confidence, his quiet, or his smile. These aren't just stories about conflict or drama. They are emotional imprints, memories tied to betrayal, rejection, or heartbreak that have shaped how he trusts, how he loves, and how he protects himself. Talking about those who have hurt him means he's lowering his guard. It means he believes you won't use that pain against him or judge him for carrying it. Whether it's an ex who broke his heart, a friend who betrayed his trust, or a relative who made him feel small, the fact that he names these people and shares what they did says, I trust you with the parts of me that still feel tender. It's not always a dramatic confession. Sometimes, it comes out in a quiet moment. A line like, I don't really let people in anymore, or that's why I keep things to myself now. These statements carry weight. They hint at a history of disappointment and a longing to be understood. When he chooses to let you see that history, it's because he sees you as someone different, someone safe, someone who might not repeat the same hurt. And that's powerful, because it shows he's not just trying to be close to you, he's actively working through his past to make space for something new, something more honest. So when he talks about who hurt him, don't just hear the pain, hear the trust. It means you've reached a level of closeness where he can finally exhale, share, and maybe begin to heal. With you beside him. 8. He shares his biggest regrets. When a man shares his biggest regrets with you, he's revealing a part of his soul that he usually keeps hidden. Regrets are raw. They carry shame, reflection, and often a deep longing to have done things differently. To speak them aloud, especially to someone he cares about, takes trust, humility, and emotional safety. These aren't the regrets people casually mention in conversation. These are the moments he wishes he could go back and rewrite. The job he didn't take, the person he hurt, the words he never said, or the chances he was too scared to take. And when he opens up to you about them, he's not trying to impress you. He's being real, honest, human. What makes this moment so important is that he's not just sharing mistakes, he's showing you what matters to him. Regret reveals values. If he regrets not spending enough time with someone he loved, it means love and presence matter to him deeply. If he regrets acting out of pride or fear, it shows growth and a desire to be better. He might not spell all this out. Often, he'll share in a quiet tone, during a late-night conversation or a long drive. But if you're listening closely, you'll hear something deeper beneath the words, an invitation to see the man behind the mask. By letting you witness his regrets, he's saying, I want you to know where I've failed, not just where I've succeeded. That kind of vulnerability is sacred. It means you're not just someone he likes. You're someone he trusts with the truths he usually keeps in silence. And that trust is a kind of love. 9. He lets you see him when he's overwhelmed or stressed. When a man lets you see him when he's overwhelmed or stressed, it's a quiet but powerful act of emotional intimacy. Most men are conditioned to hide stress, to appear in control even when their world feels like it's falling apart. So if he allows you to witness his anxiety, his frustration, or the moments when he's simply not okay, he's not just breaking a habit. He's breaking down a wall. Stress can make people shut down, lash out, or isolate themselves. But if he chooses to stay present with you during those tough times, without pretending or putting on a brave face, it's because he feels emotionally safe around you. He trusts that your presence won't add pressure, but instead offer calm, understanding, or even just quiet companionship. You may notice it in the little things, the way he rubs his temples after a hard day, the silence that replaces his usual words, or the way he confesses, I'm just really tired right now. These aren't dramatic displays. They're windows into his real, unguarded self. By showing you this side, he's not asking for solutions. He's letting you in. And that matters. Because when someone lets you see their storm, the part they usually weather alone, they're saying, I don't need to be perfect in front of you. I just need to be me. In a world that often tells men to be strong at all costs, choosing to be vulnerable, especially in moments of stress, is a form of deep emotional connection. He may not say, I trust you, but in that fragile moment when he allows you to witness his struggle, that's exactly what he's saying. And that trust means everything. 10. He talks about things he's never told anyone else. When a man talks about things he's never told anyone else, you're witnessing one of the most intimate forms of emotional connection. These are the thoughts, memories, or truths he's carried alone for years, perhaps even parts of himself he barely understands or hasn't fully processed. And now, for the first time, he's choosing to share them with you. This act isn't about casual openness or just filling silence. It's deliberate, vulnerable, sacred. It could be something from his past that shaped him, a deep insecurity he's hidden, a fear he never named aloud, or a moment that still lingers in his heart. When he says, I've never told anyone this before, or even just pauses and confesses something quietly, understand that he's opening a door few have ever been allowed through. What makes this so significant is not just the content of what he shares, but the choice to share it with you. It means he sees you not only as someone he cares about, but as someone safe, someone strong enough to hold his truth without breaking it, judging it, or running from it. It's not easy for him. He might hesitate. He might fumble with words or downplay it. It's probably not a big deal, but in his heart, it is, and is giving you something precious, unfiltered honesty. That kind of honesty doesn't come from attraction alone. It comes from connection, depth, and trust. So when he says the words he's never said before, know this. He's not just sharing a story. He's sharing himself. And in doing so, he's silently asking, will you still stay after hearing this? If you do, You've become someone irreplaceable, not because of what you've said, but because of what he could say to you. 11. He lets you in on his inner conflicts and self-doubt. When a man lets you in on his inner conflicts and self-doubt, he's revealing a level of emotional depth that he likely hides from the rest of the world. Most men are taught to stay composed, to suppress uncertainty, and to present a strong front, especially in relationships. So when he opens the door to his inner struggles, it's not just vulnerability, it's trust, laid bare. Inner conflict doesn't always come in the form of dramatic breakdowns. It's often quiet, whispered worries about whether he's doing enough, fears that he's not living up to who he wants to be, or confusion about the path he's on. He might say things like, "I don't know if I'm doing the right thing," or "Sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough." These aren't signs of weakness. They are signs he's letting you see his most unguarded thoughts. Self-doubt is something many men carry in silence. They question their worth, their role, their future, but rarely speak it. So when he shares it with you, it means he's not afraid to let you see the cracks. He's not trying to impress you. He's not performing. He's simply asking to be understood in a world that so often expects him to be bulletproof. This kind of honesty is reserved only for someone he feels emotionally safe with. Someone who won't belittle or dismiss his uncertainty. And by allowing you to witness that part of him, he's giving you something many people never see, the quiet war inside. So if he lets you in on his doubts, his hesitations, and the decisions that weigh heavily on him, understand the depth of that gesture. It means he respects your opinion, values your presence, and, most importantly, believes you're strong enough to know the real him, even when he's unsure of himself. 12. He shows you his creative side, writing, music, or ideas. When a man shows you his creative side, whether it's his writing, music, art, or unspoken ideas, he's sharing a part of himself that's deeply personal and often hidden from the world. Creativity isn't just a hobby. It's an emotional language. It's how he processes thoughts he can't always articulate, feelings he doesn't always understand, and dreams he rarely speaks aloud. By letting you see that side, he's inviting you into the most expressive and imaginative part of his soul. Maybe it's a poem he's never shown anyone, a melody he's been working on in secret, a notebook full of business ideas or stories he scribbles down late at night. These are things he protects, not because they are perfect, but because they are his. Raw, imperfect, and real. Sharing his creativity with you is more than just saying, "Look what I made." It's saying, "Here's how I see the world, and I want you to see it with me." That act takes courage. Creative expression often carries vulnerability, especially if he fears judgment, comparison, or not being good enough. So if he opens that door, it means he sees you as someone who won't laugh, dismiss, or criticize, someone who will get it, even if no one else does. It's also his way of building connection beyond surface-level conversations. When he creates something and shares it with you, he's not just passing time. He's saying, "This is how I feel, and you're the one I trust to feel it with me." In those quiet moments of sharing, when he lets you read, or see what he's created, he's not just being open. He's being honest in a language that only the heart truly understands. And by letting you in, he's making you part of that language. 13. He talks about future plans and includes you naturally. When a man talks about his future and includes you in it naturally, it's one of the clearest yet most subtle signs of emotional investment. He's not making dramatic promises or declarations. He's simply placing you into the vision of his life ahead, without needing to think twice about it. It's effortless, and it's deeply telling. You might hear it in passing moments. "We should travel there someday," or "If we ever got a place together, I'd want a kitchen like that." These aren't rehearsed lines. They're genuine glimpses into how he's beginning to imagine a life that includes you. He's mapping out his future and quietly drawing your name into the margins. This kind of language doesn't come from temporary interest. It comes from emotional comfort. He doesn't have to force you into his plans or convince you to stay. He's already seeing you beside him in the life he's building. Whether it's career decisions, moving cities, or even how he wants to raise a family, If he's casually placing you in the picture, it's because you've become part of the foundation in his mind. He's also testing emotional alignment, often without realizing it. By mentioning the future in a shared tone, us, ours, he's checking if your vision aligns with his, if you lean in when he speaks that way. And when you do, it deepens the emotional trust between you. These small moments say what big speeches often can't. I don't just want you now. I see you then, too. And when a man includes you naturally in his future, it's not just romantic, it's real. It means you're not just part of his life. You're part of his direction. 14. He's not afraid to show his vulnerable side with you. When a man is not afraid to show his vulnerable side with you, it's one of the strongest indicators that you hold a special place in his emotional world. Vulnerability doesn't come easy, especially for someone who's been taught to stay strong, keep it together, and never let cracks show. So when he allows those walls to come down, even a little, he's making a choice to be seen truly and completely by you. Vulnerability shows up in many ways. It might be the moment he admits he's scared about something, when he talks about a time he failed, when he asks for comfort instead of pretending he's fine. It might be when he sits beside you in silence, emotionally exposed, not needing to speak, because he knows you feel him anyway. These moments aren't just rare, they're sacred. He's placing his unpolished truth in your hands, hoping you'll hold it with care. And he's doing it not because he's weak, but because he's strong enough to let his guard down around someone he trusts. That's what makes it beautiful. With you, he doesn't feel the need to impress. He can breathe. He can say, I'm tired, I don't know, or I need you right now, without shame. That freedom only exists when he feels emotionally safe, when he believes your connection is strong enough to carry both the good and the hard. In truth, vulnerability is a love language. It says, I'm not performing. I'm not hiding. I'm letting you in. And once a man gives you that part of himself, he's already offering you something far deeper than affection. He's offering you trust. And trust, in its most honest form, is where love quietly begins to grow. 15. He values your opinion when making emotional decisions. When a man values your opinion while making emotional decisions, it means you're not just someone he cares about. You've become part of his inner compass. Emotional decisions aren't just about logical planning. They come from the heart. They involve fear, doubt, hope, and vulnerability. And if he seeks your thoughts before choosing a path that affects his feelings, his relationships, or his personal growth, it's because he truly respects your insight and trusts your presence in his life. This might look like him asking, what do you think I should do when dealing with a falling out with a friend, choosing to open up to a family member, or deciding whether to forgive someone who hurt him? These aren't small things. These are moments that affect how he feels and who he becomes. And instead of figuring it out alone, he reaches for you. He might not always follow your advice word for word, but that's not the point. The point is that your voice matters to him. He's inviting your perspective into his most private choices, not just to hear it, but because it holds weight. And that's rare. Men often keep emotional processing internal, especially if they were raised to deal with it themselves. So when he brings you into those choices, it's not casual. It's intimate. It means he sees you not just as someone to spend time with, but as someone to lean on, someone wise, grounded, and emotionally in tune. And in doing so, he's silently saying, your way of seeing the world helps me see myself more clearly. That kind of emotional partnership isn't common, and when it shows up, it's a sure sign that your connection runs deep.